welcome to another great episode of Scott Talk. Today I've got Tommy Tikka with us on the show, coming from Finland, right, Tommy?
Right. Yeah. Right now I'm in Helsinki,
The wonders of
trying to survive
technology.
in the middle of all this. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, dude. I mean, incredible. Right. And
So,
you're in Chicago. You're in Chicago. That was actually cool because I already told you I lived there for 3.5 years, and it's one of my favorite places in the whole world. So I miss it a lot.
great pizza, right?
Great pizza. Yeah. Yeah. I love I love the downtown setting. I don't know if it's the same still, but there was Pizzeria Uno and Due was, but I'm sure they're still there. They're right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
Well, so, when did you move out to Finland then?
2000 and um 2001, I think. 2001 or 2002. It's been a while.
And what made you decide to go out there?
My ex-wife. It's a long story. We don't want
Okay.
to get into that here
Okay.
now, right? But yeah, I mean, she wanted to move back to Finland, and so we did. There were all sorts of family reasons, issues that it was good
Right.
for us to be close to her parents and so forth. So very understandable. But then got a few kids and basically and I mean this in the best possible way. I'm stuck here.
It's a good place to be stuck, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, the worst place in the world to be stuck. Yeah, I agree.
So what age did you start getting into music?
I was 6. I remember my mom and dad listened to music a lot around the house, in the car, and in this one day, my dad and I were washing the car. We went to get some gas. He had a tape of Paul Anka in the car, and a song called "Lonely Boy" came on, and I was sold. And that's basically where it all started. I asked for him to give me the tape. I took it upstairs. I had a tape player, a cassette audio cassette player,
Right.
types that you don't,
Remember
the
those
young
kids?
folks, right? Young folks wouldn't even know what those are. But yeah, I took it upstairs to my room and I played the heck out of it. And I at that point I was, and this is weird because I was 6, pretty young. I have a 6-year-old, and it's kind of uh, to think about him picking up the guitar and starting to write songs. It's just he's playing, with the action figures. And but my mom and dad always thought I was weird. My mom said I was born 40, and so
You're an
so
old you're an old
old
soul.
soul, right? Yeah, yeah. So, but that's how it started. I started writing songs. My first song was called Coca-Cola Song. It's a ghastly ditty, and the worst part of it is that I still remember it.
Oh no. I remember the first song I ever wrote when I was taking guitar lessons. Um, One of my jobs for the week was to write a song.
Okay, right.
And it was the first thing I ever did, and it was called Blue Thunder, and it was horrible. And yeah, to this day, I still
First
remember
songs are,
exactly how it went, and it sticks in my head. So
yeah.
now it'll be in there for a few days. Thanks for that. But
You're very welcome.
what age
Suffer
did you?
together.
Yeah, what age did you first get your first instrument?
Must have been that Christmas when I was 6. My 6,
Wow.
or maybe, yeah, my dad bought me an acoustic guitar, and I learned relatively quickly, just by ear, which is amazing actually.
Yeah.
So as a result, still play the chords kind of wrong. I mean, it's kind of I play them right, but I don't, like, if you go and take lessons, they'll teach you certain type of, and I the way I press the strings and get the chords, they're wrong. But that I got all the right notes in there, so it doesn't matter. But I mean, it just that's really where it all started. Took me a while, but I learned the basics relatively quickly, enough basics that I could start writing songs, because that was always, for some weird reason, my goal. I was always in it for just, for writing songs. First Paul Anka, then Lennon McCartney, and I it's only nowadays that I actually think of myself as a musician as well, a singer and a guitar player. But I mean, still at the heart, I'm just a guy who writes songs. It's kind of strange. That's my identity,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When when was like your first band? Did you have bands when you were younger?
I had quite a few of them in my
Quite a
teens.
few.
Yeah. But I got my first recording contract. I signed with this small indie label when I was 21. But nothing came out of that, and except embarrassment, I think, because and frustration, because I thought that once you get a recording contract, you got it made.
Right.
But then I had to wait another 10 years when the band that I was writing for, Carmen Grey, signed with Sony BMG, and that was a big label, and that's when things started really taking off for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How did was Carmen Grey get started? And
Well, it was my brother's band. He I had actually all but given up music. And he called me one day, and he said that, look, are you still able to write songs like, you know every day, as many as you as you decide to, and I said, yeah, pretty much. And he said, well, I got this band, and I need somebody to collaborate with me. And based on that phone call, I had my reservation. Writing with your younger brother might not be the best idea, and we did have our arguments, and we did have our differences over the years, because we wrote really eyeball to eyeball for about 10 years
wow.
worth of Carmen Grey material, 3 albums, 1 EP, B-sides. It just, we wrote the entire catalog, eyeball to eyeball together, and we never had a dry session. This is the amazing thing. I don't ever remember him coming over, because he used to drive over, because I had a small kid, and he used to drive over every Friday, and we'd write every Friday. So we both
Wow.
brought ideas. We chose quickly which of those ideas was best. Sometimes it was his idea, sometimes it was mine. We started sort of developing the song, and it wasn't that we just wrote it to a certain stage. We finished it, lyrics, everything. It was done. By the time he drove off, we had written it all. It was just beautiful, and it didn't take us more than an hour and a half. and
Wow.
and not all of those songs are great, but I mean, we didn't release all the best ones, because we wrote so many of them. I counted actually 379,
Oh,
which is incredible number. And the a lot of the songs, like, I have an EP coming out, my solo EP, this Friday on the 22nd, and there's a song called Mary, and that was written in 2008 for Carmen Grey album. I wrote it with my brother, in the yard of our apartment complex, with my son playing in the sandbox. It never got recorded, although I thought it was an incredibly beautiful song. And so we still go back to the vaults, because there's so many good songs, and Mary's just one. There's also another one that's on the EP called Jaded Mind, that I wrote for Carmen Grey, but it was never used. And so I do write new songs as well, but whenever I release something, especially if it's a solo record, I do go back to the song files or the notebooks that we had. In those days, we didn't record the melodies. I still remember them. There's just lyrics. I do go out and pull out a few songs, and record them now. And I mean, yeah, that was, when I think about Carmen Gray, I just think about the fun of writing, the incredible fun we had in the studio, and it was wonderful having hits. I mean, it's not the
yeah.
most important thing in the world, but some of these songs were such big hits, in Finland and in Scandinavia, that you'd walk into a bus, and there was your song was on, because they played them all the time. We
Yeah.
went to went to a Swedish boat, or they're actually cruise ships that the cruise between Helsinki and Stockholm, and there'd be like a house band playing your song, and it's like, hey, I wrote that,
Right.
and so it was incredible. Actually, I remember once going to going to my guitar strings, and just because there was a line, I started playing the acoustic guitar and played one of the songs, subconsciously just started playing one of the songs that was playing on the radio at the time. And the guy who was selling the guitars came to me and said that's a very good song, but it doesn't go like that. It goes like this. And I'm looking at him, I was like, no, it doesn't. How do you know? I said, because I play the part, And he's like, very good, thought I was kidding, laughed, right? And then when I handed him my credit card at the counter and he saw my name, it's like, oh my God, sorry. I said, doesn't matter. It sounded better the way you played it anyway. But I mean, those were great days, wonderful days. And to get to work with your brother and to get to experience something like that with your brother is just amazing.
Yeah, getting recognized and
Yeah.
having your song play everywhere. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, to experience it when you're young, I think that really young and sort of able to enjoy it all.
Now, do you guys?
Now with 6 kids, a little bit later on in life, it'd be a different story. And I'm not really that interested. I wouldn't be interested in that in the sense that I was back then. Now I'm just sort of more interested in recording new stuff. Get as much of it out as humanly possible.
Yeah. It's amazing you have such a huge repertoire of songs that you could pull from anytime you want. On top
Yeah,
of
it's quite handy, and I love it. And it's like a walk down the memory lane. It because once you pull one of those songs out of the notebook, you remember what the song was about. Actually, Mary is about this chick. I wrote the beginning of it in Chicago. The lyrics. There was a coffee shop downtown on Michigan Avenue, and I used to go there after work, and there was this girl, pretty little thing, serving coffee, but she was weird,
Hmm.
or had a sort of a real sort of preaching preaching a bit, just talking about the Bible and stuff, and
Okay.
and
Right.
right, but a very nice person, and she if there were no other customers, um, she'd bring me my coffee and stayed for just a bit. And, stood there for a bit, and we chat about life, and then she told me about her life. And so that song is about, her name wasn't really Mary, but that song is about that girl. And it's I said in the notes that I wrote for the the blogs and the magazines, I said that it's true story of her, but it's a true it's basically what she reported to me as the truth. I have no idea what the real truth is. It's not like, I really got to know her well, but she had led an interesting life and a tragic life. And so that I always thought that warrants a song.
Oh yeah. That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
So h- have you worked with tell us about some of the artists you've worked with throughout your career.
Well, there haven't really been that many. I've worked, obviously, Carmen Grey, and a couple of, actually, a few people that over here in Finland were Idols winners. Back in those days when Carmen Grey was happening, and then a little bit later, I sort of developed with my brother. We were kind of songsmiths, reputation as songsmiths. Our tunes were on the radio, and so whenever these people who won the Idols competitions and what have you, there were other shows like that. And they then their producer would contact us for songs, and so we wrote a few of those. I To be really honest with you, there weren't the versions of those were good tunes, but I wasn't too crazy about the versions. But once you give a song to somebody to sing, and then that's it. That's no longer your song.
Now, when you're
You know,
saying,
they were good. They were good versions. Don't get me wrong. And the people, the singers were good. And but in terms of the overall production, I think it was a little bit too radio friendly. Always, I would have preferred a little bit more edge to all those. Like, but then again, you know,
yeah,
I love the fact that those recordings exist. I am very grateful for the fact that I was chosen to write those tunes. Not everybody gets that lucky, and to be part of that. Um, I visit the studio when they were doing the song. Maybe they'd ask you to do a little bit of backing vocals and sort of taking the atmosphere when it was all happening. They were young kids, obviously, as all those guys are. But yeah, I mean, there was quite a lot of collaboration between especially these sort of idols winners, and I don't they didn't have the voice then, but there was another sort of a show along the same lines. I can't remember all of their names, but yeah,
right.
those sort of things. Yeah,
Was it sort of like the Finland version of American Idol, or was
that was very much the Finland version of the American Idol, because
okay,
I was already living in Finland at the time. Yeah.
okay, all right. Well, I understand why your song came out in a way that you did not like. If it's anything like the American Idol,
Yeah, well, I mean, they're very professional. I
yeah.
don't want to I don't want to put anybody down.
No, 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 no. I'm not
But
either.
but
Just
but it wasn't just a lot of them weren't to my liking. Because music is very subjective in the sense of
yes,
who likes what, and I like. I would have preferred a little bit more, a little bit less sterile production. I'm gonna leave it at that.
yeah, got you. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I'm just saying they make everything a little too poppy for my taste. So
Yeah, yeah. But then again, pop sells, so
yeah. Oh no, I mean,
so you know.
there's a reason they do it.
I
It's not
love the
because
money, it's
yeah,
all right.
it's not because people hate it. So your new songs. You say you have got a new record coming out soon. Let's talk about what you're working on now.
Well, on multiple things. On this EP that's coming out on Friday. It's
EP.
my
Okay, I'm sorry.
EP, right?
My bad.
Well, no, there's actually no. There's actually a record coming out in late March as well, but we'll get to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So this EP coming out this Friday is by Tom Tikka and the Missing Hubcaps. That's my solo venture, and it's got
Yes.
6 tracks, and it's going to be titled "That's What Winston Churchill Said."
Right.
Um, and that'll come out now on Friday, the 22nd. And then the Impersonators, which is the duo that I'm part of, um, will have a full album coming out. It was supposed to be titled Ghost Town Radio, but I think we're going to change the name, call it The Life of Grant, or Life of Grant. It'll be sort of the songs can exist without each other, but the way I wrote it or put it together is basically it's a story of a person from the perspective of human relationships, and friendships, marriages. The person goes through divorces and remarries, and yet again remarries and stuff. And the person's got a bit of me, my dad, my godfather,
Mhm.
and the trip will take him to, to Vietnam, and so it's going to be sort of a concept album, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then later on in the summer, there'll be at least an EP by the Missing Hubcaps. But if I've written the songs are kind of almost even recorded. I got 8 tracks recorded. You need 10 to basically do an album. So
Right.
it right now it just depends on it just depends on if I have that extra amount of time to finish producing them to a certain standard. If I run out of time, then the other hubcaps release in the summer will be an EP rather than an LP. I'll definitely choose quality over quantity any day. So we'll see about that.
Okay. Yeah, for people that don't know, the imposters, is that a
The
complete
impersonators.
impersonate? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Is that a completely
pretty much the
different?
same thing
Yeah.
though.
Is that a completely separate thing, with the exception of you, or are there other guys in that band, or is that something you're doing on your
The
own?
other half of the impersonators is anti audio, and 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 then there's also a guy who's not officially in the band called Janne Saksa. He's one of the greatest record producers, or the best record producers in Finland.
Wow.
And so he's working with me on the production side of things, and we're sort of negotiating, or have negotiated over, I think, the hubcaps release that's going to come out in the summer. I think Jan is going to collaborate with me on that as well. But we'll see how it goes. This is all these people are pros. They got very hectic schedules. Anything can happen. So the plans are there, but as you know, the phrase "man makes plans and God laughs." We'll see what actually happens. But if I'd prefer to produce that as well with Janne. But we'll see if we're if I have to, then I'll just produce it myself, in just like I've done with the hubcaps releases so far.
And do you have a recording studio at home?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, which that's the only way I can do it. So when the kids go to bed, my wife goes to bed. I'll come upstairs and I'll start recording. I need, the way it works for me is kind of cool, because I don't know why, but I only need 5 hours of sleep at night, every night. I don't need more than that. And you can 5 hours where the kids might wake me up 2 times. I can function. I don't, and so that's one of the reasons why I get so much done. If I needed a solid 8 hours every night, I this wouldn't be possible.
Oh man, if you knew my sleep schedule, I've got major insomnia, and
Right.
you know, and well, I won't get into anything else. But yeah, I sleep for maybe 2-3 hours at a time, and then I'm up. So
Right.
I mean, if my body needed 8 hours, well, I mean, I function pretty well, but not perfectly. But if I needed 8 hours instead of like 3 or 4, I'd be in big trouble.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's kind of weird, because I always feel that I've always felt that you get a longer life like that. Because I don't really count sleeping as living.
True.
Because you're sort of gone. You're under.
Yeah.
And so but I hear you on the insomnia there. That's too bad, but the upside of that probably as well is the fact that you get to stay up a little bit more than most people. I'm not big on sleep.
Yeah.
I never was. I got too much energy for that, you
Well,
know.
I think they say, and they probably don't say this, but they say something close to this. Something about geniuses stay up late at night. I've heard something.
Well,
Something.
hey, I'm very cool with that. Yeah, love it. That's gonna be my motto.
Yeah.
That's gonna, yeah, right.
But they also say geniuses swear a lot, and that one I don't buy, because if you've got a good vocabulary, come on, use it,
Yeah,
right?
right. I agree. Yeah, no need for cuss words. Yeah.
No. So, in Finland, are you guys having to homeschool your kids out there? Are your kids still in school,
We
or?
They are now. We did in the in last spring, right?
Okay.
When the corona pandemic hit the hardest, and we had the lockdown, and that obviously also meant homeschooling. But I mean, the kids used Teams and Zoom and all the other sort of platforms that you have available for you,
Yeah.
and more or less not only communicated with the teachers, but had classes like that. And so to say that we were homeschooling them is a bit of a stretch,
Okay.
because I think that the parents just had to take on a bigger role, in the sense, because they were at home, the kids were at home, and you couldn't get tutored if your kid couldn't get tutored if they needed that tutoring. So I mean, who was close by? If the teacher was on the other side of the town, what, mom and dad. And so I saw a pretty funny meme. It's a picture of a guy working, banging away at the computer, and his kids are blindfolded and taped to the floor. And the meme says, "Working from home, day 10." I mean, now that I say it out loud, that's not really funny, but you know what I mean.
That would have been day
If,
three. Day
yeah, that
three
would
for
have been
me.
day 3. Yeah. I mean, it's because, hopefully nobody actually did it, but I mean,
No.
it was impossible to get anything done, because 6 kids running around like crazy, and
Oh,
you're on the laptop trying to work and whatever. I mean, your thought process, you
yeah.
can't finish a thought where somebody's coming like, "Daddy, I want milk." And I'm like, "Well, I'm only trying to finish what?" So forget it.
I have a 10-year-old that pretty much refuses, to like anything to do with school, and getting him to do his homework and stuff was for the last, 3 months just a nightmare. I mean,
Oh, I
s-
bet. Yeah.
screaming, fussing, throwing
Mm.
things, yelling. And then my
Oh.
kid would yell. No. But no,
No, I mean,
it
it's
was
different.
awful. It,
Yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
it
No,
was
it's
awful. Um,
out
I-
of the ordinary. If you're not used to handling stuff like that.
yeah. How did the pandemic affect you musically? Did you have shows and things lined up that all got
Well,
canceled? And
no, that's just it, because it's in the hubcaps I play everything, and in the impersonators I kind of share the instrument duties with our producer. It's not like breathing rock band that goes out on the
right,
road. I've done that to death with other bands in the past, and so the impersonators, as well as the hubcaps, were always meant to be studio projects. I've done some acoustic shows, a few here and there, and now with the pandemic, of course, because people are doing online live things, right? And so I've
right.
actually I've actually done more live performing now than I would have otherwise, because I can just do it from the comfort of my own home. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the connection that you
Yeah,
get when you actually step on stage and you start spinning tall tales about touring the world and what you've done and what have you, and you get that reaction from the audience. It's wonderful. But and as a matter of fact, no, it doesn't matter how much I enjoy playing in front of a computer to a shitload of people, just signing in somewhere, watching the show. It still feels weird, because really the only thing you have in front of you is just a computer. And
yeah.
no matter how into it you are, no matter what your moves are, you know the computer is not going to smile. They're not going to clap harder. They're not going to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you the eye. And so it just it took some getting used to, because it was just weird. You're in the room, and all of a sudden you get the green light, you're on, you're playing live, right? Stuff that you've played in front of an audience, and you kind of, at first, because that was the first shows that I did, you're used to the feedback that you get from the instant feedback, only there's none. You can just see a room. It's like, oh, there's my Beatles record collection, because your mind starts wandering, right? Because it's almost like you're playing live, but you're not really playing live, because you're looking at your computer. And so that was very, very, it was daunting at first, but one gets used to these things, and I've enjoyed them quite a bit.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've never spoke to a musician about what it feels like to do a live stream like that. So I
It's odd.
imagine, yeah, they must all feel the same way. I mean, what inspires all your songwriting and all these songs that just, over, close to 400 songs now, probably
And that
more.
and that's just
That's just the
we wrote
older
for
stuff,
Carmen
right?
Grey. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um Life. I think that things that either happen to me or around me. Um, it's kind of that, but it was always like that on this new EP that's coming out in a couple of days. There are songs that I wrote when I was 16, 18, and I mean, they're still in a way current. I there, it doesn't matter. I once went to a coffee shop in London, England, and I was sitting there. The coffee was bad, by the way, and I just the whole the whole place was a bit run down. But you when you walk around, I was doing some radio interviews. When you walk around a big city, there's that moment when you got to take a leak. Have you ever been there? You just got to take a leak,
Oh yeah.
and you got to find that coffee shop, and obviously you also want that cup of coffee. You're going to buy a cup of coffee because you just they're not like a public restroom, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so this is what brought me to this sort of a half godforsaken place. And as I was sitting there, there was a couple that were fighting rather close to me, and the guy just sort of at the end of that fight, he just like took the ring off his finger, and slammed it on the table and said, "We're done," and
Wow.
walked out, leaving his wife there. Which is the weirdest thing that I've ever. I think that it just. I thought it was the most cold-hearted thing that anybody can do. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that breaking up with, because I've gotten divorced. I'm sort of remarried now, but I've gotten
There's
divorced, and it's an
there's
incredibly
better
difficult.
ways to do it than that.
Yeah,
That's for
not that
sure.
there's ever a good way, because if
No.
somebody wants to keep going and you want out, it's bound
Yeah.
that person who wants to stay in the relationship is going to be upset with you. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I just kind of felt really bad for the woman, so because she stayed there sobbing, and so I didn't
Wow.
know what the heck else to do except move to her table and said that, look, sweetheart, it's going to be okay. I bought her a cup of coffee, the same damn awful cup of coffee, that because the coffee didn't really taste, it didn't require taste buds, if you know what I mean. And so, it just kind of got her smiling a bit because it was hideous. And she sort of told me the story, and I said that because she looked around and she said that, the Sad Cafe is pretty much like our marriage, that's what it was, Sad Cafe. And so I thought that, pretty cool name for a rock song, Sad Cafe.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a song by that name, which is about breaking up, and obviously because that was the situation that I witnessed. And so it's just an example of how I work is after a couple of weeks, I kind of sat down, thought back to that moment, and thought about that moment, and started writing the song. And then that song came out, and that's the way I work. It's not like I sit down and I don't understand. Some people create these make believe love songs. World is filled with love songs. It just never happened, right? I
Right.
don't get it.
Yeah.
I really don't get it. People say they happened, but there's too many of them. They couldn't all have happened. And most of them are just like, oh, baby, don't leave me. And I'm not interested in that sort of thing. If somebody says that angrily says to me that we should probably get a divorce, I'll say that, okay, if that's how you feel, let's do it. I'm not going to go down on my knees and beg for
Right.
somebody to be with me, and that's what I hate about most love songs, because that's what they really are. Or worse yet, they're like they become these Elizabethan sort of poems of admiration or adoration, rather. Some beautiful woman who is just perfect, as if
Right.
any one of us is perfect, right?
Right. Right.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, and some of them are absolutely brilliant. Very few of them are absolutely brilliant, but I much prefer John Lennon writing the song "Woman," where he kind of talks a little bit about what falling in love and staying in love and being in love or actually being married means to a guy, you know?
Right.
And so I think that's what I try to go for, sort of honesty, reality, as far as I comprehend it or perceive it or experience it. Every once in a while, I do write in the third person, but it isn't very often.
Yeah. I mean, the best songs are, you know, truthful, at least to some point for the artist singing them, to where they can bring out that emotion and put it into the song, you know, like you mentioned John Lennon with a woman. I mean, you could hear, in any song John sings,
Yeah,
you could hear that emotion and that
yeah, it
the
was always there.
reality that he had, and that, I mean, that's important. And you get that usually if you're just making up a story,
Yeah, I mean,
You
some
could, but
stuff you could, but it's not really the same. You
right,
know, I always feel a little bit um difficult singing about things that I haven't really experienced, because if you think closely, even in life, to be able to understand how somebody feels when they're going through something. Let's say that, let's say that somebody comes over to me, and they're in the middle of a very, very difficult divorce. Somebody like me who's gone through that would understand what they're going through. But somebody who hasn't gone through that can sympathize. And if they're an empathetic person, they'll comfort and offer solace and what have you. And that's very valuable, by the way. And I'm not,
right,
don't get me wrong, but it usually, we start understanding and the world through our own experiences. When we've gone through something ourselves, we are able to think back and to a certain time when we were on the other side of the table, if you will. And once, let's say that somebody attacks you, or somebody's mean to you, or let's say that you're the one who's taking it, right? Then you might remember that, oh my God, 5 years ago, that woman that I was dating, or that, but I did the same thing to her, or I said this to my best friend 20 years ago. Oh my God. And I think that my point being is that if you've got limited life experience, which some people, oddly enough, even if they're in their 60s, do, I think it boils down to wanting to talk about issues and deal with issues, both in your head and sort of verbally with others. But if you don't develop or improve or grow as a person and get to experience all these things, I think that your ability to comprehend your own life and the life that is taking place around you is very limited. I think it's the same thing with songwriting. If you create make believe situations that you haven't really been in,
yeah,
it becomes sort of a parody of, you become a parody of yourself, really.
yeah, very true, very well said. Yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly. Someone that's never been through a divorce has no idea what that's like. So if they write a song about someone going through a divorce, it's going to miss big time, unless
Yeah,
all the people that never went through a divorce hear it and go, "Oh, I like that," because it makes
yeah,
sense to them, because, you know, I
yeah,
got you.
sure.
That's really cool. I really like your songs. I I only have people on the show. I get veto power. Um, so so basically, um, when I first started doing this, I had trouble saying no to people. So I had to hire someone, well, recruit someone to say, "All right, I need you to, weed out, some of the lesser known people for me and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
because I'm just going to
I get.
say yes to everybody, and then I'm going to have no time." So, um, yeah, well, your representative contacted me, and yeah, I dug your music instantly. I was like, man, I definitely got to have him on. You
Very
can
cool. Thanks, man.
you can hear in your music the experience and the emotion and the realism and the good topics, um, good lyrics. You can hear all that stuff right away. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. It's it's absolutely great stuff, man. So
Thanks.
when
Thanks for those kind words, man. I appreciate that.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. everyone your website and where they can get more information on you, and then I'll go ahead and leave that description in the link in the description. I always get that mixed up. So.
No, it's two websites. I think that the if you go to www.tomtikka.com, that's my solo website. It'll also it will have some info and links to Carmen Grey as well as the impersonators. We're developing the website, so it's not done yet. I mean, it is done, but I want to add some of the stuff that I've done over the years, because I've been blessed with a very sort of not just a rewarding career, but a long one. And when I say long one, the fact that somebody's been willing to release my music for the past 20 years, that's an incredible thing, and I'm very grateful for that. But I want to bring all of that in so that you get to get links on. You will get all the links. You know, if you want to take a look at what the impersonators are doing or have been doing, or Carmen Grey, some of the Idols people that I wrote for, it'll all be there at some point. It isn't yet. Now it's just Tom Tikka and the Missing Hubcaps. The other website that'll have all the information on the impersonators is obviously the impersonators website, and the web address is impersonatorsmusic.com, and it'll basically have the lyrics as well. Both websites will have the lyrics to all the songs that they feature, and so you'll find those there as well. The impersonators are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and and Tom Tikka and the Missing Hubcaps are using the same Instagram and Twitter and Facebook accounts. So I haven't created, because there's enough in running those, in the sense, even if I get help nowadays, I got to do certain stuff, and so I'm just at the end of the day wondering if I'll sort of combine them, where it'll be impersonator / Tom Tikka. But I got to be very cautious about that, because then I want to see how the other guys that are part of the impersonators feel about that. Right. Thinking in terms of, okay, Tom's finally, he's gotten big headed, and so, but that's not what it's about. It's about practicality and my being a bit lazy in terms of social media. I don't know how you feel about social media. I know my way around extremely well, but it really isn't my cup of tea, I'm afraid.
There are a few of them I'm efficient in, but I start feeling my age when I try to use Snapchat. So
I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a few of them I'm like, what? I don't really understand this. So but like Facebook and stuff like that, us old people like Facebook. So
yeah, no, I mean, isn't that the right? Yeah. Exactly. You want to market your stuff for some 90-year-olds, then go to Facebook. I mean, my teenage son is in Instagram. That's what he's using, and the Snapchat and what have you. There's a couple other ones that I don't remember all the names, but they keep changing them. Because I remember a time a couple of years ago when somebody said, and more than a couple of years ago, somebody said to me that, look, Facebook is just like old fashioned. It's passé, right? Now everybody's in Twitter, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I gotta check that out. Then just as I've learned Twitter, somebody said, well, Facebook and Twitter are like, now everybody's on Instagram. Then I was like, I gotta have my Instagram account. And then somebody said, after I had all these three, right? Somebody said that, now Instagram is out. You got to do Snapchat. And I basically, Snapchat, I'll snap, I can't take more, it just, and so I think that around about that time, I kind of, I let go of the, shall we say, what should we call it? Development or whatever, the constant improvement of social media. I jumped off the bandwagon and just, stuck with the three that I know. I got to make the effort. I know. But today's not the day. So.
I have to get you on TikTok next.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Tom, Tikka, and the missing hubcaps. Thank you very much, man, for coming on the show. Had a lot of fun talking with you, and we're going to leave all those links you were talking about in the
Likewise, man.
description.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you're listening on YouTube, please smash that subscribe button. If you're over on Apple Podcasts, 5-star reviews are always welcome. And anywhere else, Spotify, just go ahead and follow. And that's it. That's all I ask for. I never ask for any money. Just a subscription, which is free. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much, Tom, for coming on, man.
Oh, this was a pleasure. Treat, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Come back soon when you get some EPs out and some more songs out. I want to hear them and share them with everyone. Okay.
Hey, sounds wonderful, man. Will do.
All right, buddy. Take care.